What is going on, guys? Welcome to Talking Decay, our Walking Dead podcast. I am Soldier Only.
With the one and only distracted Fuchsia, but I am here.
Yeah, she is a little distracted, needless to say.
It was just breaking news.
Yeah, I guess there was a shooting in our city, not like really in our area, not like where we're at, but yeah, just another
Manic Monday.
Yeah, just another Manic Monday, right?
That's really what it's been. But I mean, there was The Walking Dead last night, which was actually pretty good.
Yeah, speaking of manic days, it started. I like the intro on it. It started off like remember right at the beginning, like it,
yes.
and they even mentioned it in Talking Dead that like the 2 episodes this season so far have been so just all out action. I mean, the whole theme and the kind of the subtitle for the season is the series from the comics, All Out War. And that's what it's been. Like,
yes, they have not had any time to just breathe or anything at all. And it's interesting because not too much happened in last night's episode. I mean, there was quite a bit that happened, but it was all action and battle, and it didn't really show any story arc over what's to be expected in the season. It was just kind of like still breaking down Negan and what everything Negan is.
Mm-hmm. Well, we didn't even see Negan or Gabriel.
Yeah, we didn't see
in this episode. So it was.
We didn't see Maggie.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't actually. Mm-hmm. She was referred to, like she was mentioned, but now that you say that, I'm kind of surprised that we didn't, because we saw so much of the groups because they were hitting multiple outposts. I mean, like literally right at the beginning before. I mean, it went into the opening credits with a gnarly firefight. Like,
yes, and
like you said, that was pretty much, and that was pretty much most of the episode. Like, I remember it went to commercial break and we looked down and you're like, holy cow, this episode's almost over already. Mm-hmm. And it seemed crazy because it was like literally that firefight the whole episode. Not to say like it was bad. It was a bad episode, and it wasn't.
Yeah, I was expecting throughout the whole episode, like, okay, where's some story going to develop? Because like there was story being developed, but it was all in action and just in the moment, that it wasn't anything, like I said, like story arc over. Like,
well, we did get to see a little bit of character development in that. It did bring up an interesting aspect that could divide some of the fan base kind of at something. And we were kind of talking about it on the way to work this morning, but
I was excited. I had to talk about it this morning.
There was an instant. It's funny because when we talk about it, like, then I'm like, I don't want to get into too much because I like our discussions for this be more organic and natural. But like I mentioned a few things that we kind of touch on, but there was a part in it where a dilemma. It's a dilemma that comes up all the time. You know, like Tara wanted. I'm
on Team Tara.
Okay, I'm trying to explain it a little bit. So they found a savior like in a pantry, and he had literally pissed himself, and
it took a lot of self-control.
Tara was just ready to Tara was just ready to take him out, but Jesus is like, that's not who we are, and like, if you do that, then how are you can't come back from something like that. Mm-mm. And then, like what I told you, I mean, like I said, this is a dilemma that we see all the time. Like, we've seen it with Morgan a ton. It's like,
well, and that's what I was surprised with, was when Morgan came out from where they had everybody like hostage, like no weapons or anything, and they had them at gunpoint. You notice he was about ready to start shooting until he noticed that Jesus was like, wait, no. And that's when Morgan saw that side of Jesus in himself when he did it with the wolves, with that wolf guy. But I think in this scenario, like we said this morning, there's some diehards that it's like, you can't let all of the saviors live. They're too diehard to Negan, that it's like, oh, you show Negan you captured him, and then they turn on you and Negan wins.
But yeah, so I mean, and that was the thing. So in Talking Dead, they even did Team Tara or Team Jesus. And I don't remember on the poll who it was. Oh, it was Team Tara by a landslide, right? Yeah, it was like 80% Team Tara. Well, which, so like what I said this morning, you have to take that instance on a case-by-case basis, and it depends on the case, it depends on the situation, it depends on the people. And like I said, in that situation, I would probably side a little bit more with Tara. Like, I see Jesus's point, because you can't do that all the time, because then what makes you any different from the saviors? But in that instance, that mission that they were on, like the goal that they were trying to achieve on that, you have to take them all out, like what Tara said. Like,
you have to. And nonetheless, I think it was only enough proof that it's like Jesus tries to save the savior, and then the second the savior has the upper hand, he's holding a gun to Jesus's head, like, you're not gonna shoot me. And it's like, Jesus, dude, the dude just tried to kill you, was gonna threaten your life, and you're still gonna let him live? Some of them are diehards.
He ended up just hog tying him. He just tied him up. So that savior's still alive, even.
Yeah. And it's like, you should have just shot him point blank. You've been like, all right, you had your chance, you lost it. Done and done. And
that's the dilemma, because even when Morgan, we'll get into it here in a second, but Morgan, when he went all Rambo Terminator, he was having a flashback of a conversation with him and Rick when they were saying, you can't let any of them live, because that guy can be the one that gets you in the future, or, messes something up in the future.
Well, and it's kind of base to base with how Tara said she came from Woodbury, or so it's like,
see, and that feeds into Jesus's side too. Yeah. So, and with Morgan, when he wanted to turn the wolf guy, like.
But some of them you just got to get rid of.
Because Eastman, look what he did to Morgan. Like, he got Morgan on that path to all life is precious, to that Morgan.
That's true.
But that was not the Morgan we saw last night, though.
No, yeah, he was back into Rambo.
Yeah.
And so was Carol, which I loved.
Well, she's kind of been back into it since she found out about Glenn and Abraham. But like I said this morning, I loved seeing Morgan like that.
Me too.
I loved that Eastman episode with Morgan. That was one of my favorite. I mean, it was a Morgan episode. It was just him and. It was good. With that, I loved Morgan when he's in that mind state too. But I loved Morgan in last night's episode.
I wish he could have at least broken the dude's arm, for the one that, what's his name, Garrett or whatever, or whatever his name was, where he was mocking. I just lost my train of thought. No, but he was mocking Morgan for his armor being too small.
That's the sneak peek for next week, though. That wasn't even this week.
Are you sure?
I'm positive that was next week's sneak peek.
Okay, yeah,
that's gonna be next week.
Okay, it's a manic Monday.
But we did get to see that guy, though, the guy that killed Benjamin. Benjamin was his name, yeah.
Benjamin. And there was a huge thing in last night's episode.
The familiar face? Okay, I'm glad that you said that, because that's what I was segueing into. So a familiar. It's weird saying a familiar face, because we haven't seen him since season 1.
Yeah, he's like Morgan. We haven't seen him since season 1.
Well, Morgan was gone for 2 seasons.
Yeah, Morgan's been in and out of different seasons.
It was 2 seasons in between because he was in 1, 3, and then he's been in since 5. But and it's funny, because they said this in Talking Dead when it showed this character's face. Remember they said in Talking Dead that one of the fans, he's like, okay, he had to Google who it is. But as soon as I saw it, I immediately remembered him, because I have honestly been thinking about this character somewhat kind of recently. Like, I remember that, like, what happened to them, because in one of the marathons, when they rerun a lot of the old episodes, I saw one of those from season 1, and I saw the episode when they left the camp. Oh, by the way, it's Morales. It was Morales. And because I somewhat recent, like a few months ago, or maybe it was last year's rerun or whatever marathon, but I had seen that episode when they leave the camp, because it was when Rick's group was going to CDC, and Morales and his family was, I can't remember where they were going to go. I think they were going to try to go to the military base.
I think so.
I think they were trying to get to a military base, or
they parted ways.
They parted ways, yeah.
And it left a lot of questions to bring him back. Like, okay, what happened to his family? What happened to the people he parted with that were on with him?
I think it would be awesome to see a Morales flashback episode.
I think they would have.
But I don't think we're gonna get that. I don't think we're gonna get that, like a full flashback episode with just Morales. I don't think he's that big of a character to get something like that.
Yeah.
But I think in the next episode we will get the story. Like it will get explained somewhat to how he ended up that way.
It may not be the next episode. It may be the episode after that when they focus back on him, because there's quite a few that they didn't focus on last night. But it like, I don't think they would do a full episode backstory, but I think they would do conversation flashback where he's like, "This is what happened, and this is how I got here, and this is how I'm part of Negan."
Yeah, and how we didn't see Gabriel or Negan in this one. I'm thinking maybe not a full episode, but sometimes they do these episodes when members of the group are separated. They'll have an episode in a season that's just what's going on here for a whole episode, then the next one will be what's going on here. But then sometimes you get ones where it will go back and forth. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think we'd really get like a full episode, because we've done that dance already, with like twice already, actually, because we had that with Daryl when he was captive, and then we had it with Eugene. We had a Eugene episode when he got took to Sanctuary. So they've done that dance twice already, and I don't think they would do it with Gabriel. But
probably not.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
I think Negan would try to use him as some kind of leverage, but I don't know if it holds any value.
I don't think he's going to kill him outright, because
probably not.
He's in if he's still in that same situation that we saw him last in, he's in a pretty rough spot.
That's true.
Both of them are. Even Negan is.
Well, and it's like you said a very good point this morning when we talked about it, was that how I was really surprised there's another child. Spoilers.
Yeah, by the way, right before Rick saw Morales,
because from what I understood, they were trying to get more weapons, and they had thought that they were.
And Dwight was the one that
spots for the weapons.
Yeah.
And then what you had said earlier about Dwight was like, well, wait, you're right.
Okay, so here's the thing. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously Dwight's been feeding them information and stuff, and that's like how in episode 1 they took out the lookouts and all that, and then that's why in this one they're Rick and his group, because like I said, there's actually like 3 different things going on, right? Because there was Carol and the Kingdom doing their mission, then there was Morgan and Tara and Jesus that was hitting the satellite safe house again, and then there was Rick and Daryl that was hitting that other building because it was supposed to be a weapon stash spot, but instead of finding weapons, they find Morales and a baby.
They didn't find any stash of weapons in any of them, though. They found saviors armed.
And like I said this morning, I don't think it's Dwight feeding them BS information.
Yeah, well, the way you had put it,
I honestly think Dwight's genuine.
I think he is to an extent.
To an extent,
it's just that near the end, I think he would do what's going to benefit him best.
And his wife. We've seen him do that already.
Yeah. But it was that.
I think he does want Negan gone, though.
Well, yeah, I do truly believe he wants Negan gone. That's not a doubt in my mind. I just can see it being to where if they ever beat Negan or do whatever's gonna happen, I feel like Dwight would go his own way.
He would.
But it's that. And it's interesting because they didn't really show Negan in the episode at all last night. But the point you made this morning was if Dwight's giving them these locations, and they're thinking they're gonna storm in and get all these weapons, and then they storm in and find a baby Morales. Is Negan catching on to Dwight, and did he behind Dwight's back change the locations around where they swapped? But that was an interesting point,
because who knows how smart Dwight is going about this. Maybe some of the stuff that Rick's group has used against them, so taking out those lookout points, hitting these bases, what if that's stuff that Negan has only told Dwight? So when with this getting hit and stuff, like, Negan's gonna know, like,
right
this
off
is
the
him.
bat, especially if Dwight's the only one that knew.
And we saw some little moments last season where it kind of almost seemed like Negan might have been kind of testing Dwight's loyalty.
Yes, well, and it was
and that's why Dwight did that thing with the doctor, remember? And Negan was like, that is ice cold, you know, and because he knew like what Dwight had probably done.
And he was doing the same thing to Eugene, where it's like, how did she die? And it was like, oh, she ran out of air.
And that's how last season ended. But they haven't really touched on that yet. Have we even seen Eugene, period? Because
yes, at the beginning of the season premiere, when
he was standing
next to
you're
Negan.
right, he was
very cowardly, like,
yeah,
he's only gonna do the survival of the fittest, what benefits him and keeps him alive.
And he admits it too, like he says just as much. He says so many times, like, yeah, he's a coward and does whatever he can to survive, and that's why he's still there that far into the apocalypse.
I think that out of all of the saviors, the only ones worth saving are the ones that stayed at Sanctuary, that never left Sanctuary, that only helped Sanctuary run. Whereas
the
everybody
workers
else, like all the workers, I can see don't want to be under Negan. But all the other people that are at the lookouts or at the runs, or, you know, just like who Negan takes to go places and things like that, those are the ones that I think are the diehards, where it's like, just wipe them out. But all of the workers that don't want to be under Negan, those are the ones you want to free, because the diehards are gonna come back, and, you know, the first chance they get, like the dude with Jesus, you know, the first chance he got a hold of the gun, he's ready to shoot Jesus point blank.
Yeah, and we kind of mentioned that just a little bit this morning, but it's like, what are they gonna do? You know, because a big portion, like quite a few of the saviors surrendered, and in that sneak peek, it looks like that they're walking him back to Alexandria. Like, where are they taking him? What are they gonna do with him? Because the point you just made, you know, like, some of them are diehards, some aren't gonna flip. Some of them you are gonna be able to flip. Some of them are gonna pretend to flip, but then how far can you trust them? You know, it's like, what the hell do you do in that situation?
Exactly. I understand Jesus's point in saying he can't shoot a man with his arms up, not unarmed, but it's like, you can't judge a book by its cover, because that unarmed man is gonna take you out the first opportunity they get.
And he tried.
The first time I said, or that they have leverage, so I don't know. It was a good episode, but it was a lot of breaking down more of what Negan has.
And it's going to be, we didn't really touch on this yet, but Aaron's boyfriend or husband, whatever.
Husband,
yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, it's in the apocalypse,
like
it was like Glenn and Maggie. Like,
Glenn and Maggie. They were married.
Yeah, so, yeah, he ended up getting hit, so, there was a lot of blood, too. But the episode did end with, well, last time we saw him, that isn't how it ended, but last time we saw him, Aaron was carrying him off, so.
He may survive.
I don't think so, but I hope so, but.
I don't think he will, and hopeful thoughts, I would hope he does.
I don't think so either, because it's going to be a way to progress Aaron's character.
That's exactly what I was going to say, too, is that it's going to be a way to have him snap and turn into, like...
Because Aaron's character is due for some depth and stuff. Like, there hasn't really been anything with him for a while.
Yeah, he's going to turn into...
I can see him being pretty Because he can handle himself. Like, he's pretty dope. Like the first time you see him, you know, when he came up to Rick and was telling about Alexandria, and remember, we were like, God, I don't know if you could trust this guy. I don't know if he's what he seems to be. Because remember, that's what we were like.
He was so suspicious. He's a backpack full of photos.
And he's way too clean, remember? Because he was like, but he did come from a community with walls. And I mean, you see why he was that way.
That's true. I think he's going to turn into a character like what Carol and Morgan have. How they've snapped compared to when they were first brought onto the show and how much
it's lost. When you lose something like that, it's...
Well, and the other thing I noticed in the episode last night was that when Rick realized he killed the father of another child that's still in a crib, he's like, oh God, what did I just do? You know, they're in there searching for weapons and they didn't find any. And instead they find a baby Morales that it's like, you know, for sure that is gonna really mess with Rick in his head and where he stands.
You could tell it immediately started.
Yeah.
Because not only was that, it was also a girl and looked a lot like Judith when Judith was still that small.
Yes.
And he had, like you said, just killed.
And then to turn around and see Morales, like, a lot's changed since camp.
Yeah, and that was one thing I wanted to mention too. That's what he said too. Rick was like, I know you, you know, you were in Atlanta, you know, like, and then that's what he said. He's like, a lot's changed.
A lot had to change.
I mean, because look how much Rick has changed since the camp in Atlanta.
Rick's kind of been bipolar. He'll go super far north and then super far south and then somewhere in between for a couple episodes and then right back to one of the extremes. Yeah,
that's a good point with Rick, because then we were kind of saying with Morgan, like, it's all or nothing, you know. There's not really a gray area. He's either all life is precious or
savage
Rambo, like last night. Yeah, which it was awesome. I like. And it's interesting because earlier in the episode he had to do something pretty risky, and they're like, you know, well, what if you die, or, you know, be careful, and he's like, I don't die. And then he's standing next to two other people
who get shot.
They get shot at. Those other two die, and he was literally in the middle of them. And he did get winged. He got hit in the arm. Gimple said.
Well, see, and that's what didn't make sense to me is when it's like, okay, you finally bust the door open, you shoot the first guy. Why the hell did you quit shooting? Like, you should know there's gonna be more. But at the same time, they should have done that
a little different.
But you know, it was probably character development for Morgan that they died, and they were also more like behind the walls of Alexandria. They weren't, or Hilltop, or wherever they came from. They weren't big characters, and they were the ones, you know, that are just barely learning how to battle. Like, I thought that
they were Hilltop. Yeah,
I thought that one chick with the bow and arrow, she actually was a little impressive last night. When
she kind of has been from the start, though, because she has to. She's always with the kingdom when they do the trade, their offerings with Gavin every week.
Right.
And remember, they didn't really put a lot of attention to it. But remember that one episode when they were on that run meeting Gavin? She shot that walker in the head, and then a few minutes later when they leave, she's like, my sister loved that dress. It was her sister.
Oh, that's right. I do remember.
But they didn't really put a lot into it.
No.
And she had, like, no emotion, nothing on her face. She just shot, you know, with an arrow. And then, like, they did their meeting with Gavin, talk. And then second later when they're leaving, she looks over at her, and my sister loved that dress.
Was it last night's episode where it was Morgan that told her, don't let him shoot?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then she nailed two arrow headshots, like, blat, blat.
That was impressive to me.
That was dope,
She's one of the ones that are stepping up. Because I noticed every time they take over a new territory, there's always the over-sheltered ones that don't know how to defend themselves or fight in any way.
We've seen that a few times.
And turn into complete cowards. And then there's the other ones who are behind the wall that it's like, oh, well, I guess I better evolve and...
Well, it's interesting because she comes from the kingdom. And the kingdom... They have been doing some kind of training, or they have groups that had to be going out, because look how good they fight. Like...
Yeah, that's... Well, when you first
like Jerry takes care of himself. That big old axe. Like
when you first get introduced to the kingdom, it's showing how some of them are in training.
Yeah, you see him training behind the wall.
Whereas the hilltop, it was mostly all gardening. But
well, especially with Gregory running in. Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, we're gonna see him soon, and where the hell is he gonna go? He literally can't go anywhere.
He's just gonna drift off, because what I want to know is what happened to that dude that Tara.
Heath,
where is he? When is he coming back?
So there's like a few interesting things. So like in talking, like we saw in episode 1, and then Gimple mentioned it in Talking Dead last night too. Like that's kind of like an overarching theme this season is the past.
Right.
Like episode 1 was obviously the 100th episode of the show, so they did do a lot of Easter eggs and callbacks to the first season and the pilot, definitely the pilot. But yes. And then Gimple said last night that that's like a theme this season, like it's like the past coming back.
Like blast from the past. There's gonna be more things showing up from the past, which I am super curious.
Morales, you can't go any farther back.
Yeah. Well, and it was so interesting to hear Ezekiel, the way he was, like, old school speech of "we shall not fall," and like just the way that he was wording everything.
His confidence, and
he was just kind of fake it till you make it, baby.
Yeah, I like when he finally drops his king act. Sometimes,
like, what would you call that? Like, not seance, but like,
it's
I don't know. It was just weird to hear in the apocalypse the way that he's talking so ancient times of.
He does it all the time, but
he does it all the time. Yeah.
Well, it is like Elizabethan or kind of Shakespearean. Mm-hmm. He actually did quote Shakespeare in episode 1 this season.
Yeah, that was good.
It's one of my favorite Shakespeare quotes. Actually, as soon as I heard it, I knew it was Shakespeare. For he who sheds his blood with me is my brother.
Mm-hmm. It was interesting.
But yeah, like you're saying with Heath, I was just trying to remember when him and Tara was out on the road that time. Weren't they? They were looking for guns, right?
Yes. That was when they were getting ready to fight Negan, and that was around the time that they found the trash people. The stupid.
And it was when Tara washed up on Riverside too.
Are they gonna show up again?
Yeah, we're definitely gonna see them again, because
I hope they all just rot.
The reason why I know for a fact is because I've seen her name. Well, no, I've seen her name in the opening credits. Not the opening credits where it's like the main ones with the, the opening like main credits, but when it gets to the show after that and it says like also starring at the bottom.
Yeah, that's not with Andrew Lincoln.
No, it's not on the main ones.
I don't like her. I hope she just rots and she just dies painfully.
I kind of have a feeling. I don't know. Like I kind of have a feeling
in
that
a deserving way of you bitch, you betrayed us.
I know, but I kind of have a feeling. I don't know though. Like Negan's gonna do something to them or something. Like
probably
they're gonna like come around and they're gonna do something that kind of redeems them in a way. Like
possibly.
I don't like using that word. It's going a little too far. I don't want to say redeem.
I don't think they would do anything to.
Well, like redeem, their motto, like we don't bother. We take, we don't bother.
We keep an eye out for things that everybody else gets, and then we take it from them and carry them. Like just marry on your way, give us all your loot. Like, how are you gonna take everything? Like, it's the apocalypse. You gotta actually put in effort to like.
I know they're such a weird group in it. Like,
I mean, if I was to go into the apocalypse, that's probably one thing I'd take with me. Is like I'd work hard for what I got, and I wouldn't just claim it from somebody else because I wanted it more than they did when it's theirs or something. I'd be like, no, I earned this shit. I killed the deer myself. I'm gonna cook it and eat it.
Right.
As long as it's not tainted.
I'm tainted, mate.
I'm tainted, mate.
But I want to know what the hell is going on with Heath too. Like, He obviously took the motorhome, right? Because remember, the
Mhm.
motorhome was gone, and then there was like something on the ground. Like I remember when that episode aired,
It was
we
like a
couldn't
badge
tell.
card
It was like a
thing.
yeah, it was like
Yeah.
a
It was interesting.
card. So
And the motorhome was gone.
I want to see that episode again because I remember.
Well,
Remember, was it she wanted to go back and he wanted to keep looking, or he wanted to go back and she wanted to keep looking? Because remember, they were.
I think she wanted to keep looking, and he was just gonna stay because he was already getting fed up and not being able to find what they were looking for. And he
Because they had been
wasn't.
gone for
Yeah.
like a couple weeks,
Yeah.
remember? And it was right after the attack on the satellite base. They thought that they had already.
Yeah, and he had come from a background of Alexandria where there wasn't too much to going out and about and looking for what you need and
He
doing
started coming
anything.
around though.
He did start coming around, but I remember before they parted, it seemed that he was getting fed up and was ready to just go back. And Tara's like, "No, we can't go back with nothing, and
Well,
let's just go a
remember
little farther."
that episode before that when they killed everyone in the satellite base? Remember, it really affected him and Glenn because they had never
Yeah.
killed like humans.
Yeah. Well, and you saw how bad that affected Carol when she started counting up the tally.
The tally.
Tally.
Hers was the tally had gotten too high.
Yeah.
Glenn's and Heath's was that it was the first time.
That's true.
Carol was just getting sick of it. You know, she didn't like who she was becoming, and she was and she's kind of stopped doing it, thank God, because I didn't really like that Carol when she was trying to run away from the apocalypse.
Well, and that's what I love so much about Ezekiel and the way he was. You can go, but you can stay.
But you can stay at the same time.
And I think that's exactly what Morgan.
And that's what both of them. That's what Carol needed at the time, and that's what Morgan needed.
Morgan and Carol make an excellent team together, and that they should always be each other's buddy system, because it's like
they really should.
When Carol's going off edge, Morgan seems to bring her back, and when Morgan's going off edge, Carol seems to bring him back because of what they've been through with the wolves and how she was dressing as one of them, and doing her incognito. I'm gonna kill them before they kill me. Whereas Morgan was like, no, let's change them. There has to be a way to change them. And it's like, you're so hopeful, Morgan, but you're not the same dude that transitioned you to where you were at. You don't necessarily have a cage to keep somebody in where it's just solitude, you two. And that's the one thing Morgan not keeps trying to do. That's the one thing he tried to do with the house in Alexandria where he hid one of the wolves. But he didn't necessarily have the solidarity of, hey, human being to human being, we weren't like this before the apocalypse.
Right.
Type of thing.
Yeah, I kind of have a feeling that this is going to be a big season for Morgan.
I think it is going to be a big season as well. I am just really interested to see what happens next week because, this week now, it's Monday, there wasn't too much dialogue. It was a lot of battle, and
it really was. It was a lot of action.
The dialogue that was there was definitely intense. I mean, Maurice, the child, Gracie, and you saw the tattoo, so you know that was the father.
Yeah.
But it's so like, but then that doesn't quite, for a child that young. And how long? So the apocalypse been around for a while, right?
Well, okay, so obviously this is season 8, so they've been doing the show for 8 years, but timeline wise, I think it's maybe 3.5.
Yeah, see, this is just my nitpicking, like
it might be like somewhere between 3 and 4 years into the apocalypse.
And Gracie, the child, was still a toddler, not quite an infant, not quite a toddler. The dude had how do you get a tattoo in the apocalypse when she's not even old enough? Like, he would have had to get her name tattooed when baby mom was knocked up with her. That's just my nitpicking, like,
you can do homemade tattoos in the apocalypse, like.
True, but is it really gonna look that good?
I mean, tattoo machines are still around, like.
That's true. I don't know.
There's still power.
it's just my nitpicking. It's like, how does he have a
No,
tattoo
that
that's
honestly,
like freshly healed when the baby's not even
honestly,
alive?
that thought crossed my mind too, but
yeah, it's just nitpicking.
yeah.
It's like when I took.
I'm kind of
data
curious
class
on the
in high
timeline though,
school.
because I remember when they mentioned on Talking Dead that it was that they were 2.5 years into the apocalypse, but that was kind of a little while ago now.
Yeah.
Because they normally don't do big time jumps, so that's why I would say that
Sometimes.
since then, I think you'd have to say at least another year has gone by, timeline wise. So that's why I'm gonna say it's somewhere between 3 and 4 years, probably.
I'm really interested to when we see Negan again and how he's positioned to. Did he get out of the trailer with Gabriel? Is he
I think
using him
next time
as a
we see him,
pawn?
it's still gonna be in it. I think they're still gonna be in it.
If he's still in it, then how could he have changed the points that everybody hit up, where they were expecting to find weapons and
It could have been
armory?
before that,
I guess it
like you
could have
don't
been
know.
before that. That's
You
possible
know,
too.
and especially he doesn't personally have to do it. He can radio someone, hey, like move these here and there.
That's true. You said Heath.
I said
Oh,
he can radio.
I thought you said Heath. I'm like, wait, he's already on Negan's side. When did that happen?
No, I wouldn't be surprised though if we actually see that though.
The one thing I noticed about last night is it
Because
more
imagine this: last
questions.
time we saw Heath, he thought that all the saviors were gone. Because remember, they thought that Negan was one of the ones in there. Like they didn't. That was their mistake. They thought that they were helping themselves in the hilltop out by taking them all out, but they didn't know what they were getting themselves into. They didn't know the vastness of
Negan.
the saviors and Negan.
Yeah. Which it just last night's episode rose more questions than it did satisfy, because it was a lot of action.
Which is, to be
not,
fair, most the way most episodes are.
Well, I guess it is to be expected with the first few episodes of the season. Is it's like, especially when they start out with action packed from the beginning, they have to have those few episodes where it's like, okay, there's not going to be much dialogue. There's going to be a lot of battle and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll get into it.
But it's actually a good point though, because I'm glad you. I saw this like in a video once, but like how you said, it raises more questions than answers. But and like I said, that's the way the show always is. For instance, we don't even know what caused the outbreak,
and
we never will.
But
we never will, because Kirkman has even said himself
Mm-hmm.
that it most likely will never be revealed in the comics or the show. And I kind of agree with his reasons that he gave in this interview that this video quoted, and it was. I'm not quoting him now, but I'm paraphrasing very loosely, but he said something to the extent, because then once you reveal how it happens, then it turns into like a supernatural kind of thing. You know,
That's
it's like
true. It makes the curiosity.
But there is theories.
disappear.
I saw another video. There is theories in the community, you know, and some of the theories are: is it like man-made? You know, so is it like an act of war or terror? So is it like man-made, and then it was deployed, you know, like in the air or the food or the water?
Been man-made with all the vaccinations.
Or is it alien, supernatural? What was some of the other theories? Or an act of God, like Mother Nature?
My theory would be like evolution of disease and vaccine shots that they change each year. Like they have all these, or
government,
vaccines,
you know, like if it was like a government thing.
I would think I would conspire it being against the government, that, or it's like that episode of Doctor Who, you know, where it's like they let too much grow and it kill the whole planet.
But the thing is like, do we know if it's like what it's like? Have they ever referenced anything like in Europe or? Because we know, all we really know is that it's mostly America. I did hear something. I guess there was an episode of Fear the Walking Dead where they went down to Mexico or something. So so we do know that it's made it down to Mexico, but we haven't really heard anything about overseas. Like we don't know anything about like Europe or.
And when before the season premiere, when we were catching up on conspiracy theories of The Walking Dead, there was one where it's like the series finale of The Walking Dead will be SWAT and bombs of other countries coming in to rid of what zombies are left because it never reached overseas.
That would be a good way to wrap it up.
That reminds me of 28 Days Later?
Well, okay, 28 Days Later was the first one, then the sequel was 28 Weeks Later.
That's right.
There's two different ones. One's a sequel.
See, if The Walking Dead had zombies like that, there wouldn't be no survivors. They no. Those ones were fast
those
and
movies
they were scary.
Those movies broke the mold.
Yeah.
You know, because rest in peace, by the way, George Romero, the guy that created zombies and Return of the Living Dead, and he passed away not that long ago. Was it like last month or something?
It was past couple months.
Really, really recent. Yeah. Unfortunately, he was a legend.
I know. I wish we knew the exact date to pay pure tribute, but we're kind of slackers, and it's been a manic Monday.
Yeah.
I really wish we had an earlier like DirecTV broadcast something, because then we could actually watch it at 9.
I know it said something with that AMC Premiere now or whatever. You can actually like watch them a week early or something like. That's kind of.
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, that's kind of risky because you're gonna piss a lot of fans off that don't have it, and spoilers, and
I don't.
You're treading dangerous territory if you're doing that.
Maybe it was the Red Machete that they were doing that too. Is the Red Machete gonna be like little clip episodes?
Yeah,
between commercials?
that's their mini-sodes for this season. It's Walking Dead, the Red Machete, because normally it's because remember that's how they introduced Fear the Walking Dead. Yeah. Kind of was through those mini-sodes, but this season it's Walking Dead, the Red Machete. It's the tale of the Red Machete, and
we get to see where the Red Machete came from, and it's history.
And I bet it's gonna end when it gets to Gareth. I don't think we'll get it with Gareth and then to Rick because we've seen that. Yeah. So I bet it's gonna end with getting it to Gareth, but
it can't have that long of a
what the hell happened to it? Like, I bet it's in where Negan took it probably because.
Yeah, because he had it when they found Alexandria and he was all bloody and then
and big old bearded and savage. He had it then.
Bad.
Remember when Alexandria took... Remember how Alexandria would take their weapons? Remember weapons weren't allowed in Alexandria at first?
That's right, yeah.
So it would have got taken then, so it would have been in the armory. And then Negan took everything in the armory, so Negan would have it.
That's right, yeah, Negan would. Got the damn rocket launcher,
that makes me think now, too. Yep, I didn't think about that. He's got it. But that makes me think, with them doing this mini-sodes with the Red Machete, it's going to come into play again.
It could. Instead of it ending at Gareth, they could go into Negan.
And like we've said many times before, me and you don't read the comics ahead, so...
Which is for the best.
We don't know,
there is plenty of spoilers, and I really hope...
Because sometimes they do stay with the comics.
Yeah. I really hope that that's one thing they don't stick with in the comments is that one from the other.
I know. I accidentally saw that panel.
I would hope not, but I guess we will see.
I have a feeling we'll probably see that death, but I just hope it's not that character.
Agreed, because they do change things a little bit from the comics, and I think part of the reason not only is because it's like the show is based on the comics, but there's some characters that are in the show that were never in the comics, and there's something that happened to characters in the comics that happened to different characters in the show. Mm-hmm. I think they would want to keep that element of surprise to prevent blowout spoilers.
And they've been able to do that, because look at how many fans, big, crazy, diehard fans of the show came into it from the comics, where I kind of came the other way. Like, I started watching the show before I started reading the comics.
I started watching the show because my mom was like, hey, there's a new show on AMZ. It's about an apocalypse. Want to watch it? Yeah, sure. We saw the first season and then the second one.
Your mom actually watched like the first season and then...
My mom was the one that heard about Walking Dead before me because I was under a rock and didn't have control of my own TV, and I still didn't really have a phone at that time because I'm kind of old.
It's just... It isn't... This is your mom, though, you know, who is strange at times, but it's like she watched a whole season and then decided, oh, it's too dark, I'm not watching it anymore.
It was up until
to be fair though, the show it wasn't always as gory as it always was.
It was,
but it's gets savage as you go down the line. It gets more and more.
It was the first 2 seasons that she watched, because it was when Carol's daughter walks out of the barn as a walker. That's when she's like, nope, can't watch it. It's too depressing. And I'm like, but you watch Criminal Minds.
Criminal Minds sometimes is like super dark, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that's like with serial killers and getting in the mind of serial killers, and it's like, this is an apocalypse. Like,
but yeah, to be fair, it is dark as hell, but
yeah, it was my mom that had heard about Walking Dead before me, and she's like, oh, let's watch it. And so we watched the first 2 seasons. I remember really into it, and I wanted to watch the following season, but she's like, it's too dark.
I remember I watched the pilot, like the live first time it aired, so I literally have been watching it since like right from the beginning. But
well, and she always had DirecTV, so it wasn't something that I could just turn on demand to watch when she wasn't home. It was just, there wasn't on demand, there wasn't Facebook, there wasn't. This was like back in MySpace days.
I know. There was that interview on Talking Dead last night with Norman Reedus, and he was talking about his relationship with Andy Lincoln, and he's like, we've been doing this for 8 years, you know, he's like my brother now, and it dawned on me, I'm like, yeah, I knew this was season 8, but I'm like, yeah, they've been doing this for 8 years now.
That's been 8 years, and I am so thankful you caught me up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had to watch 2 seasons.
Was it? No.
Because it was season 4. We had to watch up to season 4, but you had seen the first 2 seasons. So yeah, we had to watch 2 seasons to catch you up.
And it was a very intense 2 seasons, because
it was awesome binge watching. Yeah. I had seen them all. Yeah. I was caught up, but it was nice catching you up.
I'm just so good. Like, I don't mind when there's spoilers. I'm like, oh, I found this out. That's too bad. I'm still gonna enjoy it just the same as if I didn't know. But that's what I really loved, was when you caught me back up, is like, because I didn't have control over what I wanted to watch when it was on, and I didn't have on demand. I would watch rerun episodes, and the first time I saw the governor, he had a missing eye. So when you caught me up, I was like, who does it? Who does it? Oh God, is it gonna happen now? And I'm like, wait, he has both eyes? And so like that suspense was actually kind of fun, because I had spoiled myself.
Especially it went on for so long until it finally happens.
It went on, yeah. Every single episode, I was like, oh my God, I hope Michonne
Well, see, and it was actually that way for fans of the comics, too, because when he's introduced in the comics, he had the eye patch right from the beginning, if I remember right.
I'm not too upset if I get spoilers.
He actually looked a lot different in the comics than what they did, which I love how they did it, because I love the governor in this show. Especially David Morrissey. I mean, David Morrissey is a phenomenal actor. I've always liked him as an actor even before that show. He's another acting choice. Like, same thing with Negan. Like, I knew Negan from the comics, so when we heard Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I was like, oh my God. And I told you that. If I would have heard same way David Morrissey is going to be playing the governor in a few months, like, same thing. I would have been like, that is perfect. Yeah. There's been quite a few times when they've nailed the casting choice. And it was interesting when in that 100th episode special, when they were talking about John Barenthal and Andy Lincoln, they actually auditioned together at the same time, but they also did test runs with them in both positions. So they even did it once with Andy playing Shane and John Barenthal playing Rick Grimes.
I like how they did it, and I really want to catch up on Netflix to see him in The Punisher.
I know.
We're slacking, and now we're getting distracted, because like I said, I was distracted in the beginning with the whole live action news.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up here soon, so... but yeah, all in all, it was a excellent episode, and like we said, the first 2 episodes have been nonstop action right from the start, and Gimple even said last night on Talking Dead that that's pretty much the way the first 4 are pretty action heavy. So next week I'm kind of expecting more of the same, but I think we are going to get some more talking though, because finally some more talking, because we have to figure out what happened to Morales.
And I think next week's episode is going to have a lot more anxiety than this last episode, because last night it was like, oh, straight into action, but it wasn't like, oh my God, you know, I didn't have that pit in the bottom of my stomach growing with each commercial break.
Like, I still had it, but it definitely wasn't as bad as it usually is.
Yeah, it wasn't near as bad as it usually is, which was kind of a relief, but it was still like, It was still a really good episode. It just
and Sheba got herself another kill too. I'm always stoked to see Sheba get her son too.
She's so cute.
I know.
We have a lion or a tiger. I want a tiger.
Me and Nate had a homie that had one.
What are those cats that are like the big ones?
Well, those are the servals. Yeah.
I want a serval.
They're like
a dog-sized cat.
A dog-sized cat. Yeah,
They're
it's the
so
best
cute.
way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that video on Facebook or whatever of that guy that has a serval and it had like little harness and everything, and like that'd be awesome.
Yeah. And it's just jumping up on the counter, not like on the counter, but like a
putting
dog.
His paws up on the counter like a dog would. Yeah, it literally looks like a dog, but it's a cat.
It's so cute. I'm such a cat person.
Yeah.
That I never realized. But anyways, thank you so much for tuning in to Talking Decay.
All right. Yeah, that's gonna do it for this week. So we will see you next week. Like I said, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can catch this every Monday at twitch.tv/soldieronly at 10. I guess we're still going to be doing them at 10.
More often than not, it'll probably be 10, because I know if we try to do it at 9, it won't happen till 10. Or it'll turn out like tonight where we should have done it at 9, but we already scheduled it at 10.
Yeah, it's usually anywhere from 9 to 10. And I'm streaming before anyways, so I stream every day, so you can catch the streams there too.
I will be on stream with him tomorrow.
Yes. Tomorrow we are gonna have a Halloween stream. We'll get into we'll be in costume, and then we're also gonna play some COD Zombies. And I'm
maybe
finally
7
gonna
Days to Die.
Maybe, yeah. We'll have to see. Maybe that too. And then also I'm gonna try out the Friday the 13th game.
Yes.
So we're gonna give that a shot. But if you're watching this on YouTube, hit them thumbs up button if you like the video. Subscribe to the channel for more content, and make sure to check out all the links down in the description to our social medias.
Down below.
All right. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
My meds. Thank you for tuning in. Deuces.